very, very subtle and above most of the other magicians who didn't quite understand most of the stuff he could do. I got to know him rather well, and he tipped me off. He said, when I've worked all these shows, he said, I've stumbled upon things every now and then that I couldn't possibly have looked for and searched for and tried to find out about, but it just happened. And he found out that one night he was in the men's washroom about 20 minutes before the show. And he's in a booth a little bit down from, pardon the expression, the urinals and such. I'm sorry, but these are details you need to know. And he says, two fellows walked in conversation, and they were members of the audience. You see, he didn't know that he was in the stalls, you see. And they walked over to the urinal, and apparently guys, when they're at the urinal, they talk about anything, see, except what they're doing. And, and they're a little distracted. And they started to talk, and one fellow said to the other, this mentalist guy, what did the other fellow said? Dr. Jocks. I remember that. And Jack's was sitting here saying, no, it's Jocks, you know. Felt like saying, but he didn't. And he listened to the conversation. The fellow said, I tell you this, the test I would give these guys, if he could tell them that my mother-in-law's favorite pet name was Dolly, then I'd know he was the real thing. Jackson's sitting there saying, hallelujah. And then he told me what he did and what he does, and he would do this, he would use it, go into the men's washroom 20 minutes before a show, just to see if there was extra stuff he could pick up like this. It only works at one time out of 50, but when it worked, it was gangbusters. He bent down and he looked at the guy's shoes as he walked by, and then as soon as the door closed, he bolted out, pull up his pants, I think, and bolted out of the, and saw the guy going down and saw where he sat in the audience and got a look at him, you see. And then when he walked out on stage, he pointed at the guy, there's a fellow down here who's got a name that is haunting him, and is it a challenge? I think it's a challenge, stand up, sir. And I get a D, and the guy straightens up like that, and he came up with Dolly, and the guy, you know, between the eyes with a hammer, you know. And but that was a great gimmick. That shows you the way things can be done.
That's the work. That's the real work.
That's an inside story of how mentalists really
I have
work.
One more.
Okay.
Stop. This is a Dunninger story. You might have heard of it. Dunninger used to have, he'd sell tickets to a seat, right? And in those days, when you bought a seat, they had your address. So what he would do is one of his minions would go to the person's house, and I've done this too, go to their house and knock on the door and say, oh, I must be, and the door would open, and that person would look in the room and scan it really quickly and go, oh, I'm looking for the Smith residence, and they'd go, this is the Jones residence, oh, must have the wrong place, I'm awfully sorry, and he'd leave, and then he'd make his notes. So with Dunninger, he'd know that the person was in the seat, and he'd say, I see a painting of a ship over your mantle. You have a painting of a ship.
And a grandfather clock that is not operating.
Yeah, something like that. And
how could he know that?
People were absolutely stunned. But in those days, you could afford to have people. And well, let's face it. John Edward does the same thing.
Yeah.
He has people that go out and scout all these places. And when I did a show with Michael Shermer, where that's one of the things I did is I went out and took photographs of these people's homes. And I also took photographs. I had somebody, a friend of the person who lived there, take pictures of their bedroom, and I could get to the point of where I could say, when you lay down on your bed and you reach to your right, there's a telephone, you know, and the person is like, they have no idea, but it's called pre-show, and I love it.
Yeah.
That's what
But
makes it work.
these are the subtleties. They're easy to sense. You have to all take secret drugs before leaving the room now, so you'll forget.
Don't tell anyone I told you this.
All right, that is good.